You ready? Well, welcome back to Fabrication 101. Obviously, as you can see, it's been raining, or it's still raining. It's been raining a lot lately, pretty much this whole week, which has kind of messed up some of my plans, but has allowed me to get a lot of work done out here on the Bronco. So in the last video, I was working on the front tube fender flare. And I got it all done, and I'm very, very pleased with how it came out. It's all ground out, or blended, I guess I should say. And I did, the whole time I was doing this, I had intended to blend this. Feels like it got hit by a hammer there. A little low spot, that's kind of weird. But I'm super pleased with the way they came out. In addition to that, I got the driver's side one all done. Which it was a little bit more of a challenge. It's always a little bit more difficult to duplicate something than to make it the first time, especially when you have issues with your vehicle. Like this Bronco, I found out, I mean, if you look at this A-pillar here, how it's all rotted, the floor underneath is in really bad shape. And I found out, I looked at some things, this rocker panel is about a ½ inch narrower than the one on the passenger side. So this fender does not bow out as much as the other side. Now I don't know if they're supposed to be that way, which way they're supposed to be, I guess I should say. So I just made this one on the driver's side match the passenger side one as best I could. I'm super pleased with the way it came out. There's still a little bit of finishing touches, things that need to be done to them. But I'm gonna kind of step away from them for a little bit. I'm getting kind of burned out on these fenders a little bit, I think. If you'll notice this, the rear one on this side is just in sheet metal. I'm gonna leave it this way for a while because I gotta make up my mind about something. I'm thinking about modifying this one that is finished. I'm thinking I want to bring this back corner down at an angle a little bit just to kind of make it look a little bit more finished. To be honest, I've never been 100% happy with the way that fender came out. I mean, it came out great. I'm just not pleased with the way it looks, I guess I should say. On another update, I did get drive shafts for this thing. I don't know if I can show you this one, but there is the rear shaft all the way in there. Those are from Arizona Drive Shaft down in Mesa, Arizona. I'm super pleased with their product. They got them done in really quick. I mean, it really was just a few days. So what I'm going to work on now is headlights. As you can see, my headlight bucket area, my grill has been cut out, and that is because when I stuff my tire all the way up and turn it all the way to the one side or the other, the tire does get into this space. So what I've got are these Harley Davidson headlights. They're just from a company off of Amazon. I didn't want to invest a bunch of money into these right now until I know it's going to work. These are kind of cool headlights, and they're not just for Harleys, which is something I'm happy about. So they come with two different wiring harnesses, and one of these is so that you can have a turn signal in the light itself. But I think these are kind of cool. I kind of like them. I kind of dig them. They've got like the halo ring in them. I think this is how they go. I think that's the right side up. Or maybe it's the other way. Maybe it's this way. One or the other. I think it's this way. And they got a halo, which I'm probably going to go ahead and hook up and be like all the other cool kids with their halo lights. To mount these, I went ahead and bought some old or kind of cheap normal headlight buckets that you would put on a Harley Davidson. But I think I'm going to try and modify them a little bit. This is kind of how it goes if the mount is on the bottom, and I'm thinking, I think if I do a little bit of work to the back, I can actually mount them pretty much right in there. I might have to stick them out a little bit from the body because I don't think I can put them in there completely and still have room for the tire. But what I'm thinking is I think I can take and cut off the back of this housing a little bit and make it a lot thinner. Here's one that is not on there, so I think I can trim that down to match that. I think it's going to fit in there a lot better. So I think I'm going to do that first. All right, that was kind of crazy. I thought there was a dog getting attacked out there for a second. Then I thought my fence was on fire. Just crazy way the sun was hitting the water evaporating off the side of my fence. So after several minutes of trying to figure out an accurate, at least seem kind of accurate way to try and measure the depth here. It's about 1.5 inches, and I think I'm going to go with like 1.75 inches just to be on the safe side. Finding a way to mark this, even after I've measured it, is kind of a challenge. What I've kind of come up with is using my base for my dial indicator. Get all the metal dust off of this thing, even though the magnet's off. If I lock it down to my table, it stays nice and solid. Ooh. I've got this little pick here set as a scribe, and it's set at 1.75 inches right now. I have no idea what I'm doing. Sometimes I just have to figure it out as I go. So I'm going to set this to 1.75 inches right now, as best I can anyway. Basically, all I'm going to do is bring this over and work my way around, scratching a line into it, trying not to move anything any more than I am. So I spent a bit of time trying to figure out a good way to cut these out. Let me show you what I've come up with. This is a little crazy, a little unsafe, but I think it's going to work. So I've got a piece of 1/4 inch material and a piece of like 1.5 inches, 1.25 inch aluminum clamped to my table, and then I've got my grinder kind of clamped via the guard to that. And I think if I take my headlight bucket and run it right here up against the edge, so it's not going to go anywhere, I think I can rotate this and make my cut. All right, so it's in there. It looks like I actually have room to cut a good chunk more out of there. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it down a little bit more. This is definitely some advanced level grinding. I don't know. It's not something I would ever want to see my welding students doing. But there is I think it's roadkill show. There is a right way to do the wrong things, and this is one of those instances where I didn't just throw it on there. I spent a bunch of time, even though it didn't look like it. I spent quite a bit of time trying to make sure that this was going to be a safe way to do it. Figured that was going to happen at one point. It wasn't a complete disaster, but it's certainly not my finest work, but it's nothing to really be too ashamed of, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I should feel like I should do better. There are some pretty rough spots in this. Most of it's pretty okay. I don't know if you'll be able to see it up close here. You can see if I kind of rotate it a little bit, it's still warm. I can still feel it. The socket is warm. All right, so I got a little sidetracked looking around for stuff to make a mount out of, but this is what I came up with. So I took the original brackets that came with the light, I flattened them out so they'd sit flat on the back of this. And then what I want to do is I'm going to center them up on here, and I'm going to build the bracket off of this bushing that goes up to the frame as a mount. I want to center this side to side. What I need to do is transfer that all the way across to the top. And I'm going to use a part of a tool that some people may not know what it is. Some people might. This is a piece for a combination square, and it is called a centering head. See if I can set you guys down there without knocking everything over. And the way this works is you take the blade or the ruler piece out of your combination square, the 90-degree square part, and you slide it in here so it lines through like that. Go ahead and snug it up, and then when the V shape here automatically centers you on your part, and what it allows you to do is rotate it, and it gives you a nice center mark all the way across your piece. So that you can transfer your center all the way across. This is used in like pipe and plate work and stuff like that. Pretty useful little tool for transferring things across a part. A lot of people might know, some people may not, is use a larger drill bit to kind of deburr the inside of the hole a little bit. If you put it on a drill, it's much easier, but that just does a pretty quick little twist off there. You kind of knock off the sharp edges so that when you do bolt things up, they sit nice and flat. So it takes care of the sharp edges. So now we should be ready to bolt together our bracket. Holes line up pretty well. Well, that bolt's gone forever. All right, so that's on there. Next thing is going to be to figure out our spacing and our distance for the mount on the Bronco part. All right, so there's a pretty rough example of what my bracket's going to look like. A little bit of a curve to it. I think it's going to look pretty good. These holes, what I do is I try to have the spacing between the holes look the same. It's not going to be perfect, but it should be pretty close. And I want to make sure I give myself enough room to weld without running into a hole. So what I've got here is a 1/2 inch hole, a 3/8 hole, and a 1/4 inch hole. Which should leave me pretty much the same spacing on either end. You can see I've got them center punched. I did move all my little speed holes down 1/8 of an inch just to, I think it'll center them up a little bit better. One of the other tricks is, you'll notice I didn't spend a bunch of time getting them all perfectly cut out. So what I'm going to do is stack them, line them up to where they're pretty close and consistent. What I'm going to do is clamp them in areas where I know I'm going to be removing material. I'll actually go ahead and weld it, tack weld it together, which I'll probably go ahead and do like on this corner. I might even do over here on this corner a little bit, just to help hold things together that much better. I could even do one down here without having too much risk of messing up the end of my piece. And just like that, wow, just like that, we've got 4 pretty much identical brackets. I'm pretty happy with the way they came out. I think they look pretty good underneath there. So the brackets are all cut out, ready to go. Found a big old castle nut that I can use as a spacer in here. It gives me the right space between my brackets that I'm looking for, at least reasonably close enough that it makes me, I'm okay with it, I guess. So we'll tighten that on there. Nice trick if you have the room, which I do not here, when you're doing brackets like this, is to use a piece of like all thread or a long bolt with a lot of thread on it, and put a nut in, or nut on insides, and you can run the nuts out and tighten them down, and then you can set your bracket out almost exactly where you want it to be. I just did a autogenous weld, so no filler metal. I don't think this is a headlight bracket. I don't think we really need the structure there. I am gonna have to clean this up a little bit. I'll just wire wheel it real quick. But so I got this bucket ready to go. Bolt them together. I'll go see how they fit in the Bronco and probably go ahead and get them tacked in there, and then we'll see how it looks. All right, so that one's in there, and that one's in there. I was gonna try and do one of those trick, snap my fingers and have it appear things, but I totally screwed that up and didn't even record the first time. Apparently I turned the camera off. So it is tacked in there. I don't know if I showed you this on the other side. See how it fits in there nice. I like the way they look. I'm super pleased with that. You can see how this side is. I just knocked my flashlight down. Pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with it. From my step back, the driver's side one does look a little lower, but I'm pretty sure my grill on that side is high too. So I've always been needing to trim this out a little bit here. Because I don't think the grill is level, so I'm not going to worry too much about it right now. I can adjust some of that stuff, but I was more concerned with being able to adjust these up and down. I can tweak them a little bit, I think, if I want to aim them out, in or out a little bit, but this one needs a better screw in it because it keeps dropping down. But other than that, I'm pretty pleased with them. I can't quite bring myself to pull the plastic off of them yet because I don't want to get them all scratched up. But what do you guys think? I think they came out pretty good. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this video, you guys. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Next time, I have no idea what I'm doing next time. I might be trying to tackle this back part of these fender flares that I talked about earlier, wanting to roll those down. This next week's kind of crazy already, so I may not even get a video out in the next week. It might be 2 weeks till the next one comes out, so be warned, I guess. Until next time, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, and go build something. I sound like I'm Irish.